Wow, that's amazing. How many of you have built things using Uno? Arduino Uno. How many of you have built things? What about Mega? Lilypad? Okay, that's a very good crowd. So today I'm talking about rediscovering technology. And by rediscovering, I mean why we should go the open source way now. And how different was our previous generation in having our products, and how different is the new generation innovation. You all must have heard about 3D printing, like wearable technology, and I mean technology is moving at a pace, at a speed which was not 5 years back. And why I know 5 years back? Because that is when I started exploring technology and about what open source hardware is, and should I be an electronics engineer, should I switch to programming. So I took up electronics as a major and I taught myself programming. That's how I went about. So alright, I'm not having my slide in hand, so let's go to the first slide. So what technology means to us today? I mean, how do we define technology? Like during my grandpa's times, technology was just a radio, okay, which was this giant big. You know, my dad describes the first day they got a radio at home, and then my mom describes technology as the first time in the whole colony they had the first telephone at their house. Okay, so everyone used to come to that one place to get a phone. So my mom had to run to just call that auntie and come, her phone has come. So that was technology for my mother. And then my parents described technology as changing from black and white television to color television. And today, with internet, with everything being connected together, with the rise of the Internet of Things, I think that technology means to me as something that lets us talk to other people and gadgets. I mean, for me, my phone, I can watch a video, I can send an SMS, I can chat, I can do a video talk, I can, be on Viber all the time and talk to my friends abroad. I mean, and technology means to me I can SSH using my phone into my computer. I mean, into a remote computer at home. I can even do that over internet. So something that lets us talk to other people and gadgets. And everything is connected by text, as you can see. There's a blood flow in the background. And it also, information travels from one corner of the world to the other. Can I have the lights a little, maybe a little dimmed out there? Or maybe that could get a little brighter? Is it possible? Who was controlling? Alright, great. So information travels from one corner of the world to another. How did a person sitting in Italy know that a person in India was working on open source hardware and hire me? And that is the power of technology at the moment. And no matter where you are, you're always home. You're whatever the device that you're holding in your hand is way more powerful than the first computer used to communicate to the first spaceship ever sent, out of over the atmosphere. And everything is available at the click of a button. So today, I'm going to talk about open source technologies and how it affects us and how can we rediscover it, as you can see in the slide. So, 3 generations down, there were only a few players, okay, as in only a few companies were able to afford that kind of R&D at home that give birth to a new technology. There was, maybe Sony, there was, Dell, Philips, and fine, Apple came up, then there was Microsoft. Only a handful of companies had the brains and the resources accessible around to be able to prototype something that is useful to human beings. So here is a very good comparison. If you notice it, that is the IBM computer that you see there, and this is a Raspberry Pi computer. How many people have seen Raspberry Pi here? How many of you have used it for any of your projects? Nice, impressive. So when you compare, like, this is made by a student, okay, at his or her own home. Okay, this is made by a huge ass company which would like completely, charge exorbitant amount to just give you an access to technology. And that is the power of open source hardware. Hence my question, is it time to rediscover technology? Is it time to rethink how we make our products? Is it time to explore the possibility that I sitting at my home with the hardware, I'm capable of building something that can be world renowned, or that can solve like a very crucial problem in the world, like maybe diseases, or maybe a new testing equipment, or something of value to humanity sitting at home. So my journey into open source hardware back in the year 2009 started with the same thought. Being a woman, I tried going to I tried going to these electronic markets, which were like so male dominated in Delhi. I mean, I wasn't comfortable shopping there for my electronic components, which I wanted to prototype my project with. And I was a very curious person, and hence it used to irritate me to wait for someone to accompany me to that market. And that is where I started my first startup right after college, called 9 circuits. And excuse me. Yeah, so that is where that is what inspired me to start my first company, 9 circuits, and that is where we got in touch with Arduino and open source hardware, and I found this concept really interesting. So what is open source? And why I included this slide is because the last place I spoke at, people didn't know much about open source. So there was no point of talking about Arduino, about what we do, without knowing what is open source. How many of you have at least one open source contribution running online? Maybe a patch, maybe a bug fix, maybe some operating system that you contributed to, maybe a project? Mozilla, Tor? All right. Which organization were you? Okay, GNU. That's nice. That's awesome. So yeah. So open source is when you are able to use a piece of software which has its source code written online, which you're able to access, which you're able to modify, which you're able to submit, like develop and submit your patches to it. So yeah, that is the concept of open source. Open source is also teaching each other without saying that, hey, give me money. Okay, if you want to use my product, give me money. It is more of an opportunity to integrate the really good programmers with complete newbie programmers, all the wannabe programmer. Anyone can be a programmer. I mean, if a person like me from an electronics background could learn programming, I think anyone could. So yeah. So once I've spoken about open source software, add hardware to it. What extra does hardware have? Hardware has like design files. Hardware has the documentation, how to use it, and it has shields. Like only Arduino, you can't do much, but if you want to give it a Wi-Fi access, you add a Wi-Fi shield. If you want to have a Bluetooth access, or yeah, you get the hang of it. So here's a very classic example of how you can rediscover technology. How many of you have heard of the project Philips Hue? Okay, so Philips Hue is basically a project with which, using my Android phone, I just download an app, and my home would be fitted with Philips lights, and using my phone I can just dim the light in some other room, or just according to the mood that I'm in, I can just change the color of the lamp that is next to me in my room. So this is project Philips Hue, where I think like for $200 you get like some 3 bulbs or something like that. Okay, so Philips is charging some huge amount for it. So this is Arduino ADK, which is controlling lights. ADK is Android Development Kit. Okay, so Philips Hue, something that Philips is trying to patent and sell, you're able to make at your own home using just Arduino ADK and lights, and you can see the person controlling, an Android app. Fine, Android is open. All of you can learn to write Android apps. So this is the power of Arduino, or getting into open source technology, which I am working on. Yeah, so in short, we could say that open source hardware is redefining technology. And if you're a student in electronics, you would be glad to hear that Arduino has partnered with Intel. The news got released yesterday evening. And the new board we are developing with Intel is called Galileo. I'm yet to go into the specs. Like today morning, I was trying to just skim through. So, I mean, that is the power of open source hardware. Where was Arduino? It was a small project started by teachers to teach their students who were designers electronics. They wanted just a basic board which would remove all necessity to, maybe learn to how to burn the program into the board. They wanted to remove that bit out, and they just wanted a programming language to interact with the board. That's how Project Arduino started. And then it started with AVR. Then, I mean, every company wants to partner with open source technologies now. Yeah. So where does India come into picture? Okay. I mean, so what is Arduino India office doing? A lot of people are asking me. So I'm trying to tell people about how to rediscover technology with Arduino. So at the moment we are partnered with Tektronix. We are trying to build things in test and measurement front, and to bring back the concept of home labs. Like during my papa's times, they used to have, only the geeks used to have like this table and home labs in their, dormitories in the college. So we're trying to bring that spirit back, because now everyone, the spirit of building things, the spirit of making things, because it breaks my heart to see an engineering college student buy his project from outside. And I came from such an ecosystem where all around me mostly purchased their projects, and which did break my heart at that time. And that's the spirit we are trying to bring back by partnering with Tektronix. Another partnership we have is with Maxis Global. So what Maxis Global does is they're trying to bring advertisement out of the TV, radio, and print media. They want to make advertisements that interact with you, that gives birth to a new technology called interaction design, which has largely been taught using Arduino and Raspberry Pi, and I mean, those sort of products. And why I think Indians would succeed in it? Because we are born with something called jugaad. How many of you have heard this word jugaad? Yeah, jugaad kara de thodi. Alright. So, I presented the same presentation in Torino when they asked me, oh, what would India office do? Would it be a service office? Would it be a customer care office? Or would it be a developing office? I was like, it's going to be a jugaad place. Okay, they didn't know the concept. I said, hey, we Indians are used to fixing things and not just throwing it up. I mean, like an old T-shirt. Okay, if you outgrow it, it goes to a younger sibling. If he outgrows it, it goes to some cousin. If moment it goes totally old, it will go into a dusting cloth, and then even older, it will become a pocha. Okay, to wipe the cloth. That's what we are used for. So Indians are born with jugaad. So I presented there that I'm very confident that given the right tools, the right ideas, and the right technology, we'd be able to come up with solutions which are completely out of the box. Who knows, tomorrow the next big technology that can change the lives of the poor can come from India. So in abroad, the word they use for jugaad is make. And there is a big magazine on make. I mean, every month there is a make magazine issue. There is a maker fair right now going in Rome. So they have a full, right now West is taking notice to jugaad, with something that we've been doing forever. This is what we're doing at Arduino India office. And we are building technologies that are out of the box. Like, for example, someone wanted to build an advertisement around, the lightest, they wanted to display the lightest watch. What we did, we used a bit of electromagnet and with a proximity sensor. So the moment someone comes near the display case, the surface on which the watch is placed would start floating. and the moment you take 2 steps behind, it will slowly get down. Which was prototyped in 2 days using Arduino. Like, that's what we are bringing out at the moment. Because more than developing the core part, it's more important to excite more people. It's more important to build the trust of more Indians of why they should be adopting open source hardware. So everyone's asked me, so today's talk is about rediscovering technology and is also about telling how we are making money. Okay? Apart from, so I don't want to charge for workshops. I don't want to charge for hardware. That is my vision. I mean, as in hardware to use, not hardware to buy. So how does an open source project like Arduino make money? I mean, this is a very often asked question, which I've decided to include in my talk now. So everything is free. The documentation is free. You can see the board online. You can build it yourself. The software is free. The support is free. Like, you're not even buying money for the support. And how are we making money? So we are making money by we are making money by asking the right questions. And how can questions help you? And this is a very short summary of the thinking process that goes behind my head when I'm trying to, build a company around open source. So how do we excite people? Because orders here are just word of mouth. It's not a big brand, which I'm not Google that people will want, will revere me or will want to join me or would want to contribute. So how do you excite people? So you excite people by finding the right category of people. I mean, there is a hacker in all of us. There is a hacker in all of us. And with the thought is really empowering. I mean, if I told that each one of you had the power to build things behind your door in your bedroom when you're bored, I mean, the thought itself is empowering. If I told you that you could build, if you're feeling too lazy to, maybe switch on the fan or, switch off the fan, go there and, change it, you can just build it using a remote control. I mean, technology is that empowering. Electronics and programming are that empowering when combined together. So we excite the people's hacker side. We call those people makers because the word hacker is too cliched. Although it means good, but many people think it's bad. Like, my father personally thinks it's bad, so I was like, hey, Dad, I'm a maker. So maker is anyone who makes things. If you make origami in your free time, you can, you're a maker. How do you integrate that into a real life scenario? Like, for example, if I want to teach an exciting story to my kindergarten kids, I would just attach a few motors and a few strings, and to that origami, I would make its head bob up and down. I can make it go forward and backward. And without knowing much of programming, with just knowing the basic commands of how to just turn the motor, here, like left to right. That's all I need to animate things, to bring something that's cool from a prototyping stage to something cool, which is a tool to teach someone younger, to bring out the better concepts into someone younger. And that is what is the meaning of the technology. So how do you excite people? We find makers. Second thing, how can we make people contribute more to help each other? So what we found that if you're building cool things, if you're doing very good stuff, when people come and ask you, hey, how did you do it? If you're willing to share that piece of information in a way that excites the person, in a way that's solving the person's use case. Like, for example, I might be a kindergarten teacher who wants to teach my children better. Okay, so learning Arduino would, do me good. Or I might be this kid who wants to protect something important. So the same concept, this motion, can be translated into opening and closing of a lid of a box. And if I coat the box with tin foil, if someone touches the box, I need to get a tweet or an SMS or an email, which I can gladly set it up using an Arduino. So both the cases, the motion asked, the question asked was the same. But if you're able to empower the people to customize the solution to the person's requirement, many people want to help each other out. Because if I got helped, if I'm happy, definitely I'm sure that I'd help another person who's asking me. That's how I got involved with Project Arduino. So we build a lot of documentation and a lot of forum and customer support to empower the people to build what they want so that they help more. And then obviously at the end of the day, we need to make money. Fine, there are a lot of venture capitalists and there are a lot of people willing to invest, but everyone wants a return of their investment. So we as a company till now have decided never to go public. I mean, we are self-sufficient. So how do we earn? We earn by selling the boards. You might ask me that there are so many Chinese boards, there are so many there are so many Chinese boards and it's open source hardware. I can tomorrow clone a copy and call it some Priya Arduino or something like that. I don't know. I mean, I can't do that. So even with that sort of competition, we are able to make money because the hardware we build is completely robust and it is accessible. We have distributors all over the world. And if I got something nice done using Project Arduino, if I was able to impress a client and get some 1 lakh rupees out of him by just a prototype, okay, why won't I buy the original board? So that's the goodwill on which we are, yes, the whole company is sustaining. And to tell you the truth, there are 30 people all over the world working for Arduino, and just 30, and it's a very, very small community. It's a very small core community that we have. So if any of you are thinking of a business in open source hardware, which I would totally recommend you to get into if you have access to the time or the resources or the idea, okay, how many of you have heard the company Adafruit? Yeah, so Adafruit is an open source hardware company. All the hardware, whatever they build are available, but they just custom make it a little bit so that you just, maybe buy it off them and the tutorial is online, or you can make the same thing using your products at home. So, so what is the business model of an open source hardware company? I mean, if you guys are interested in. So, I would call these as the, next slide. I would call these as the Guru Mantra. Okay, too much of text, but I couldn't find shiny pictures to communicate, these concepts, because the last time I made a presentation it was all text. Then someone pointed to me that, hey, you need pictures to, make it all colorful and make people look nice, but sorry, I couldn't do with this slide. So first thing is make something that solves a problem of a large mass. For example, Leah, okay, the creator of LilyPad from MIT, what she did, she wanted to make wearable technology. She felt Arduino was too bulky to fix and it needed wires, but she wanted something that she can sew. So she designed LilyPad. She came to, Massimo. She was like, hey, I've made this, cool little thing which you can sew on yourself, and I can wear my technology. I can walk into, I could walk into this place and you could see the Wi-Fi signal on my T-shirt or something. I mean, it's cool. It's cool to be a geek. So she solved, she built something that solved a problem, of a large mass of people. Many people might have wanted to build technology that they want to wear. So, and keep at least version 5 of the product ready in hand before releasing version 1. Okay, there is really no patent. You go to China, you'd find even iPhones which are completely, Control C, Control V version of, iPhones in China. You'd find it all sorts of, things in China. So there is really no patent. Fine. It's illegal, it's everything, but who cares? So in any case, you need, if you're thinking of going into a business in any hardware scenario, have the version 5 ready. Version 5 should be, a little more advanced in technology, should be offering a little more features, should be more optimized, maybe power optimization, or maybe, you say that you increase the, if it's a Wi-Fi something, you can say that, oh, it can transmit to this length of time. So what will happen is the moment your version 1 is released, if someone copies, you're ready with your version 2. And it'll take time for them to reach that version 2 by the time already you're in version 3. So I'd recommend you to take this step. Next is constant vigilance. Rather, I'd be like constant vigilance in very loud voice. Reference to Harry Potter, if some of you get. I'm a big time Harry Potter nerd. So yeah, constant vigilance, I mean that beware of where the market is at the moment. I mean, don't be outdated with your technology. It should not be something that someone built 6 months back, or it should be the latest thing that has come to your hand. If 3D printing is the latest, build something extremely niche out of 3D printing, if everyone is talking about it, because that is what would would be something that solves a problem of a large mass, because people eventually solve problems, but depends on if you're the first one or the last one. I mean, your success depends upon that. And then be genuinely interested in helping people. I mean, I really think that being genuine is very important. As in, if I'm running a company, fine. If I'm the managing director of a company, it's nothing overly awesome, great that I'm doing that you guys don't do. I think even developers are amazing people who are writing awesome software. I think people working on algorithms who are optimizing stuff are doing a great job. I mean, this is my job. I mean, my job is to make sure that open source hardware continues and we continue building good technology and good things to bring, to empower people. So being genuinely interested, okay, helps. So what can you do? Okay, how many of you are in final year? Okay, third years? Wow, awesome third years. Second years? Great. I wouldn't ask first years because the rest is first years. So yeah, and alright, so what can you do? I think second years and third years have a much larger amount of time to make a difference. So you can contribute to the hardware, okay, for Project Arduino. Like you can go to the design files, you can see if it's proper, you can teach yourself Eagle. Eagle is what we're designing our CAD in. Because we ran into issues with KiCad. I mean, if you guys have tried KiCad. So, or KiCad. Okay. So, and then, or if you don't want to hack on the hardware, please make examples and blog about it. A blog is a very empowering resume. I mean, gone are the times when I used to please send in your resume or CV. I used to be like, I am interested in giving, getting into a company which would explore my talents to its maximum and blah and stuff. Right now, what people need are skills. And what better a way to show your skills than, blog about it. Blog is free. I mean, if you have a Gmail account, you have a blog right next to it. Worst case, you set up a WordPress, or if you're too security paranoid, you can have your own VPS and buy your domain and host it up. I mean, big deal. So make examples and blog about it. I mean, even blogging is very powerful. Documentation is really powerful in empowering the community and to be respected in the community. And or if you're a software nerd, you could go for solving software bugs. There are so many issues. A scientific study says that there is one bug per 100 lines of code in most cases. So imagine a project running thousands and thousands and thousands of lines of codes. And don't you see like a vast opportunity for you to just explore to maybe solve some issues or solving some bugs? And then okay, I'm not interested in bug solving, I'm not interested in documentation. Where can I give my energy out to? You can do outreach programs, you can host free software and hardware days and teach others. You can teach others how to install a Linux operating system. You can teach others how to solve their particular issue, to build a particular project. I mean, IIT Madras has this beautiful innovation lab. I mean, they are like winning competitions in robotics. I mean, how many of you are aware of such a lab in IIT Madras? Yeah, I met the students, they were so inspired, and I asked how. They said, hey, our seniors taught us, okay? Our seniors showed us like beautiful robotic videos, and they gave us like a kit in which, everything was there. They said, sit and build it, right from simple form. You can build that, but start with ABC first. And then they mentored their juniors in a way that the juniors are now winning competitions. And I think that is the power of teaching each other. I mean, if you care for your juniors, like 5 years down the line, you'd be thankful you graduated from that college. So, yeah. And before I show the video by Massimo Banzi, who's the creator of Arduino, he had a beautiful TED talk. And although this is my talk, yet I think that my talk would be incomplete without you hearing his side. And do we have access to playing a video that is audio output? Okay, thank you. So yeah, and questions before that? Any questions about open source hardware, or how do we get into it, or I want to build something, what should I do? I mean, any questions are welcome. Yeah? Please come forward. Just state your name, your university, and your question.
I'm Manan Pandya from Gujarat section, Marwadi College. I wanted to ask if it's open source is so advanced, it's good, awesome, then why don't these laptops, computer companies, Dell and Lenovo and all that, they pre-install it and give it. They give Windows 8 and all that. Why can't they give Linux? Why can't they give AIX?
Very valid question. In fact, that's a problem that I am facing. So apparently with Optimus, Linux does not run. Okay, my laptop does not run Linux well. Okay, does not compile things well. So there are a few companies like ThinkPad. Okay, ThinkPad is a very robust hardware for Linux, and if you're a Linux geek, I'd request you to buy that particular hardware. I mean, it's a tried and tested thing. So it's a politics of these companies to promote Microsoft. That's all I can say. I mean, if there ever comes a day, which is coming nearer, of a fully open source, customizable, powerful laptop in which you can maybe play, Call of Duty in a very seamless form, I think that's where we are heading towards. So yeah, any other questions? Yeah, please come forward.
I'm Rajesh from the Solarlian Foundation.
You're Rajesh from?
The Solarlian Foundation.
All right.
I wanted to know what kind of support does the Arduino company offer for creating or building customizable sensors. I mean, so far we have had shields, sensor shields to be attached to the Arduino board. Okay. And that's how we perform the operations or whatever we need.
Specifically, what sensor are you talking about?
I'm talking about temperature sensors, wind speed, humidity.
Okay, so you want to build temperature sensors?
Yeah.
Okay, so in fact, for one of our projects for automatic watering of plant, okay, which we are also displaying at Electronics for You conference day after tomorrow. Okay. So, so what we did is we used gypsum. Okay, we use gypsum inside soil. Okay. Because the moment we pour water, the moment the contact gets established, we want to trigger an action of, stop the water flow now, sort of a thing. All right. So, as far as the sensors are concerned, like one is building this for my home use. Second is mass producing it. Okay. For mass production, I may need something digital, something more intelligent, something which can be calibrated. But not this hack that we did at home, just filling gypsum and waiting for it to stay. Okay, so we didn't. So that's where we are hitting a glitch. That's where we need like semiconductor facilities. Okay, and which apparently government of Karnataka is starting. I mean, it's just rumors right now because of the the rise in dollar rate and fall of rupee. I mean everything. We want to invest more into semiconductor sector in Bangalore is what I'm hearing.
And I have another question.
Yeah.
Now, to purchase these sensors online, I mean, I have been told by a couple of friends in India, Italy, and a lot of other places that you can get these in eBay. But eBay, the problem is, either it's too costly or, the delivery doesn't happen on time or a lot of issues.
You can go
so are there any local sources I could get it from?
Yes. In fact, you can go to Arduino recently launched its new website. You could go to their distributors page. Okay. And most of Arduino distributors also keep sensors. All right. Okay, and Rido Labs, I've heard from many sources, is very stable. Yeah. I think they're in Kerala based. They're a Kerala based company. I'm not sure. Okay. I think so. So they are very good with their delivery and their stocking of materials and other things. So I think it will be nice. All right.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Any other questions regarding maybe entrepreneurship? Because I'm not here only to talk about tech, about even my experiences.
Hello, I'm Madhuri from Bangalore section.
Okay.
I would just like to know if you have any design contests at the university level for UG students.
Yeah. So at the university level, we are planning to have a contest starting from next year onwards. In fact, let's see if things work out. With this new partnership of Intel has a lot of competitions. Probably Intel might bring out a competition with its new board, working around Arduino. So also, our initiative is starting to teach interaction design in universities. Like most of the universities are very closed when it comes to exploring with technology. They just want to stick to 8051, or they just want to stick to things that matter. I agree that 8051 is needed for learning the internals, but I think for rapid prototyping and the pace at which the technology is growing, I think even Arduino as a tool will be very empowering for the student to learn at the university level. So we are partnering with a couple of universities inside Bangalore, rather to begin with just one. It's just like maybe a 4-weekend course or something like that. We'd be starting with interaction design, where people will know to build things. How a sensor, the controller, and an actuator, how they react, and how to customize, and how to build Internet of Things and all those things. So yeah, probably by next year you'd be hearing some news. Yeah.
I wanted to ask if is it decided with only 30 people in the whole world?
Well, we are hiring.
Community.
We are hiring one by one. The community is huge. Thousands of people working from all walks of life. We have people from biology department, who are trying to integrate technology. Open source hardware is being used to, by herpetologists, that is to track the movements of snakes in their natural habitat. They just fix the cameras and everything which are transmitting signal back, and periodic photos of the, space to just have animal tracks. So, yeah, it is... Yeah.
It's expanding, right?
It is big, but 30 is our core team. Since it is open source. Okay. Since it is open source, a bunch of us are paid to work on the open source, and I think I am very lucky to do that. So yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? Yeah, please come forward, or you can just pass on the mic.
I'm Prem Prakash from Madras section. I would like to know how I start doing this stuff. I don't know how to start to build a hardware or something like that.
So where to start is a very complex question. I would say scratch your own itch. As in, what I meant by saying that, I could not afford Arduino when I was in third year, because at that time in India, there was only one company that was selling it, and it was selling it for 3,500 rupees. Okay, and fine, my friends bought their projects since for 10,000, 15,000 and all, but I stopped taking money from parents in second year. Not that they didn't give, but this was a challenge which I just thought it was fun to try out, to live on your own. Like, how much can I earn to meet my own expenditures sort of a thing. It's been an exciting journey till now. So yeah, I couldn't afford that piece of hardware, and I went online and I searched for microcontrollers, how to control this particular project for an automation. That's when someone said, hey, look at Project Arduino. It is open source, it is good. Okay, that's all. I went online, I saw how to build an Arduino on a breadboard. I ported it to a general purpose PCB, and burnt a few chips and learned to properly burn the bootloader and how things go about, and that's how I learned. Okay, you can start being simple. You can start by just conserving. In some houses, the light is always on outside. Okay, you can start simple by interfacing maybe a small LDR with that light. Whenever it's daytime, the light would automatically switch off. You could start by tiny automation projects. So, or maybe something related to a Wi-Fi shield. Something at home, you want your door to open only when you give a particular key. You can automate that. So that's how you start building. You don't start building for money. It never works that way. Fine, it might work in some cases. It never worked like that for me, is all I can say. Sure.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Yeah.
I'm Smilu Sunny from Kerala section. I wanted to ask, there are like different Arduino boards, Arduino Uno, Arduino DOE, and things like that, and then Raspberry, and then BeagleBone. So, what board should I start with?
Alright, to start with, I'd suggest Uno because one, you don't need as much of processing power. 32-bit is enough. Okay, and you can start by interfacing the small sensors to some actuator. Maybe if my alcohol sensor, reaches a certain level, possibly an LED should glow. You should start with that. Or the advanced version is, once my alcohol sensor goes a little high, I should not be allowed to post on Facebook or make calls. Okay, that could be the extended version of it.
So with the Uno board itself, can we?
Yes, you can do that. You can do that using Uno board itself.
So what is the what is the higher versions of Arduino used for?
Well, you could using Uno itself. I can make my Facebook page not open through my browser. Okay, but maybe if you wanna take GSM data from some place and take photo shots once every 5 seconds and transmit it over to your web page, you might need a mega, okay, because you need more pins. So more pins to handle, more processing capabilities. So yeah, and you might go for mega, and if you want to wear something, you could go for LilyPad. If you want to, I don't know, there's a million possibilities. I could keep talking here. And Duo is ARM based, so if you want to build like a proper robot, so there is this cool knitting kit, okay? So like mothers, they keep knitting their, kids' sweaters. So there's a cool bit of knitting programming that's being done using Arduino Duo. And at Maker Faire Rome day before yesterday, I saw the blog that they brought a new software. You could just upload a photo. It'll convert that into bits and bytes, and it'll send it to the knitting thing, and it will knit that pattern, that particular face pattern that you can. So ARM takes that sort of processing capabilities.
So with BeagleBone there in the market,
you can do that. You can do that.
Why does Arduino? Why is Arduino still used?
Because BeagleBone, it's all because of community. We answered questions a little better in the initial stages. So the people using Arduino is more, who are helping each other. So I'm not saying BeagleBone can't do it, but it's beneficial. It's faster if you do it with an Arduino, is what the market analysis say.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. And switch to the last slide. Okay, you just killed my slide. Alright, anyway, the last page was only my name with my Twitter handle. Or all of you could just take down my email ID or Twitter handle. I love interacting with students. So it could be at BEACHBRAKE. It's beach break. It's weird, but fine, that's me. So it's at BEACHBRAKE. Beach break. And my email ID is p.kuber@arduino.cc. And if there's anything valid you need to ask or tell, email is a better way of reaching me. And worst case I don't respond, just tweet to me. So alright, we can play that video.
So a few weeks ago, a friend of mine gave this toy car to his 8-year-old son, but instead of going into a store and buy one like we do normally, he went to this website and he downloaded a file and then he printed it on this printer. So this idea that you can manufacture objects digitally using these machines is something that The Economist magazine defined as the third industrial revolution. Actually, I argue that there is another revolution going on, and it's the one that has to do with open source hardware and the makers movement. Because the printer that my friend used to print the toy is actually open source. So you go to the same website, and you can download all the files that you need in order to make that printer. The construction files, the hardware, the software, all the instructions is there. And also, this is part of a large community where there are thousands of people around the world that are actually making these kind of printers, and there's a lot of innovation happening because it's all open source. You don't need anybody's permission to create something great. And that space is like, the personal computer in 1976, like the Apples with the other companies are fighting, and we will see in a few years there will be the Apple of this kind of market come out. Well, there's also another interesting thing that I said the electronics is open source because at the heart of this printer there is something I really attached to, this Arduino board. So the motherboard that sort of powers this printer is a project I've been working on for the past 7 years. It's an open source project. I work with these friends of mine that I have here. So the 5 of us, 2 Americans, 2 Italians, and a Spaniard, it's a worldwide project. So we came together in this design institute called the Interaction Design Institute, Priya, which was teaching interaction design, this idea that you can take design from the simple shape of an object and you can move it forward to design the way you interact with things. Well, when you design an object that's supposed to interact with a human being, if you make a foam model of a mobile phone, it doesn't make any sense. You have to have something that actually interacts with people. So we worked on Arduino and a lot of other projects there to create platforms that would be simple for our students to use, so that our students could just build things that worked, but they don't have 5 years to become an electronics engineer. We have 1 month. So how do I make something that even a kid can use? And actually, with Arduino, we have kids like Sylvia that you see here that actually makes projects with Arduino. I have 11-year-old kids stop me and show me like stuff they built for Arduino. That's really scary to see the capabilities that kids have when you give them the tools. So let's look at what happens when you make a tool that anybody can just pick up and build something quickly. So one of the examples that I like to sort of kick off this discussion is this example of this cat feeder. The gentleman who made this project had 2 cats. One was sick and the other one was healthy. So he had to make sure that they ate the proper food. So he made this thing that recognizes the cat from a chip mounted in sort of on the collar of the cat and opens the door and the cat can eat the food. This is made by recycling an old CD player that you can get from an old computer, some cardboard, tape, a couple of sensors, a few blinking LEDs, and then suddenly you have a tool. You build something that you cannot find on the market. And I like this phrase, scratch your own itch. If you have an idea, you just go and you make it. This is the equivalent of sketching on paper done with electronics. So one of the features that I think it's important about our work is that our hardware, on top of being made with love in Italy, as you can see from the sort of back of the circuit, is that it's open. So we publish all the design files for the circuit online. So you can download it and you can actually use it to make something or to modify, to learn. When I was learning about programming, I learned by looking at other people's code or looking at other people's circuits on magazines. And this is a good way to learn by looking at other people's work. So the different elements of the project are all open. So the hardware is released with a Creative Commons license. So I like this idea that hardware becomes like a piece of culture that you share and you build upon, like it was a song or a poem, with Creative Commons. Or the software is GPL, so it's open source as well. The documentation and the hands-on teaching methodology is also open source and released as the Creative Commons. Just the name is protected so that we can make sure that we can tell people what is Arduino and what isn't. And Arduino itself is made of a lot of different open source components that maybe individually are hard to use for like a 12-year-old kid. But so Arduino wraps everything together into a mashup of open source technologies where we try to give them the best user experience to get something done quickly. So you have situations like this where some people in Chile decided to make their own boards instead of buying them to organize a workshop and to save money. Or there are companies that make their own variations of Arduino that fit in a certain market, and that's probably maybe like 150 or then or something at the moment. This one is made by a company called Adafruit, which is run by this woman called Limor Fried, also known as Lady Ada, who is one of the heroes of the open source hardware movement and the maker movement. So this idea that you have a new sort of turbocharged DIY community that believes in open source, in collaboration, collaborates online, collaborates in different spaces. There is this magazine called Make that sort of gathered all these people and sort of put them together as a community. And you see like very technical project explained in a very simple language, beautifully typeset. Or you have websites like this one, like Instructables, where people actually teach each other about anything. So this one is about Arduino projects, the page you see on the screen, but effectively here you can learn how to make a cake and everything else. So let's look at some projects. So this one is a quadcopter. It's a small model helicopter. In a way, it's a toy, no? And so this one was military technology a few years ago. And now it's open source, easy to use. You can buy it online. DIY Drones is the community. They do this thing called Arducopter. But then somebody actually launched this startup called Matternet, where they figured out that you could use these to actually transport things from one village to another in Africa. And the fact that this was easy to find, open source, easy to hack, enabled them to prototype their company really quickly. Or other projects.
I'm getting a little sick of hearing about the same people on TV over and over and over again, so I decided to do something about it. This Arduino project, which I called the Enough Already, will mute the TV anytime any of these overexposed personalities is mentioned. I'll show you how I made it.
Check this out.
Our producers caught up with Kim Kardashian earlier today to find out what she was planning on wearing to her. It should do a pretty good job of protecting our ears from having to hear about the details of Kim Kardashian's wedding.
Okay. So, again, what is interesting here is that Matt found this module that lets Arduino process TV signals. He found some code written by somebody else that generates infrared signals for the TV, put it together and created this great project. It's also used, Arduino is also used in serious places, like the Large Hadron Collider. There's some Arduino boards collecting data and sort of measure some parameters. Or it's used for So this is a musical interface built by a student from Italy, and he's now turning this into a product because it was a student project becoming a product. Or it can be used to make assistive device. This is a glove that understands the sign language and transforms the gestures that you make into sounds and writes the words that you're signing on a display. And again, this is made of all different parts you can find on all the websites that sell Arduino compatible parts, and you assemble it into a project. Or this is a project from the ITP part of NYU where they met with this boy who has severe disability, cannot play with the PS3, so they built this device that allows the kids to play baseball although he has limited movement capability. Or you can find it in arts projects. So this is the TXT bomber. So you put a message into this device and then you roll it on the wall, and it basically has all these solenoids pressing the buttons on spray cans. So you just pull it over a wall and it just writes on the wall all the political messages. So then we have this plant here. This is called Botanicals, because there's an Arduino board with a Wi-Fi module in the plant, and it's measuring the well-being of the plant, and it's creating a Twitter account where you can actually interact with the plant. So, this plant will start to say, this is really hot, or like, there's a lot of, that I need water right now. So it just gives a personality to your plant. Or this is something that twitters when the baby inside the belly of a pregnant woman kicks. Or this is a 14-year-old kid in Chile who made a system that detects earthquakes and publishes on Twitter. He has 280,000 followers. He's 14, and he anticipated a governmental project by 1 year. Or again, another project where by analyzing the Twitter feed of a family, you can basically point where they are, like in the Harry Potter movie. So you can find out everything about this project on the website. Or somebody made a chair that twitters when somebody farts. It's interesting how in 2009, Gizmodo basically said that this project actually gives a meaning to Twitter. So it was a lot changing in between. But it's a very serious project. When the Fukushima disaster happened, a bunch of people in Japan, they realized that the information that the government was giving wasn't really sort of open and really reliable. So they built this Geiger counter plus Arduino plus network interface. They made 100 of them and gave them to people around Japan. And essentially the data that they gather gets published on this website called COSM, another website they built. So you can actually get reliable, real-time information from the field, and you can get unbiased information. Or this machine here, it's from the DIY bio movement, and it's one of the steps that you need in order to process DNA. And again, it's completely open source from the ground up. Or you have students in developing countries making replicas of scientific instruments that cost a lot of money to make. Actually, they just build them themselves for a lot less using Arduino and a few parts. This is a pH probe. Or you get kids, like these kids, they're from Spain, they learn how to program and to make robots when they were probably like 11, and then they started to use Arduino to make these robots that play football. They became world champions by making an Arduino-based robot. And so when we had to make our own educational robot, we just went to them and said, you design it, because you know exactly what it's needed to make a great robot that excites kids, not me, I'm an old guy, what am I supposed to excite? No? But there's like, in terms of educational, but there's also companies like Google that are using the technology to create interfaces between mobile phones, tablets, and the real world. So the accessory development kit from Google is open source and based on Arduino, as opposed to the one from Apple, which is closed source, NDA, sign your life to Apple. Here you are. There's a giant maze, and Joe is sitting there, and the maze is moving when you tilt the tablet. Also, I come from Italy, and design is important in Italy, and yet very conservative. So we worked with a design studio called Habits in Milan to make this mirror, which is completely open source. This doubles also as an iPod speaker. So the idea is that the hardware, the software, the design of the object, the fabrication, everything about this project is open source, and you can make it yourself. So we want other designers to pick this up and learn how to make great devices, to learn how to make interactive products by starting from something real. But when you have this idea, what happens to all these ideas? Now, there's like thousands of ideas that it would take 7 hours for me to do all the presentation. I will not take all the 7 hours. Thank you. So, but let's start from this example. So the group of people that started this company called Pebble, they prototyped a watch that communicates via Bluetooth with your phone, and you can display information on it. And they prototyped with an old LCD screen from a Nokia mobile phone and an Arduino. And then when they had a final project, they actually went to Kickstarter, and they were asking for $100,000 to make a few of them to sell. They got $10 million. They got a completely fully funded startup, and they don't have to, get VCs involved or anything, just excited people with their great project. The last project I want to show you is this. It's called Ardusat. It's currently on Kickstarter, so if you want to contribute, please do it. It's a satellite that goes into space, which is probably the least open source thing you can imagine. And it contains an Arduino connected to a bunch of sensors. So if you know how to use Arduino, you can actually upload your experiments into this satellite and run them. So imagine if you as a high school can have the satellite for a week and do satellite, space experiments like that. So as I said, there's lots of examples. So I'm going to stop here, and I just want to thank the Arduino community for being the best and just every day making lots of projects. Thank you. And thanks for the community.
Massimo, you told me earlier today that you had no idea, of course, that it would take off like this.
No.
I mean, how must you feel when you read this stuff and you see what you've unlocked?
Well, it's the work of a lot of people. So we, as a community, are enabling people to make great stuff, and I just feel overwhelmed. It's just, it's difficult to describe this. Every morning I wake up and I look at all the stuff that Google Alerts sends me, and it's just amazing. It's just going into every field that you can imagine.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, that's the full story. So with this, I end my talk, and do be in touch. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Priya. I request Dr. Preeti to come over on the stage to kindly present a small memento as a token of our gratitude to Priya. Thank you, Priya. It was a very motivating talk. So I hope all of you were inspired by Priya's talk. So now we are getting into one of the most important sessions of the All India Student Congress.